When we talk about the black family, it's such a large and broad issue, and there are as many shades of difficulty as there are shades of the people who are existing in those families. And what brings to my mind is the scene that I saw yesterday outside at the Holly Center on 33rd and Holly. And I saw a community of young brothers who, because of the breakdown of the black family, they were each other's family. In that lack, they found each other. And we call this the code of the streets, whatever you want to describe it as. It is as old as time immemorial. Young men gathering together to defend their territory. We just happen to label them gangsters. This is what I saw. And when we are discussing the issues that we are having, we understand that nothing happens in a vacuum. We understand that the hand of the past writes the present and writes the future. And it's easy for us to sit here and talk about how much ground that we've lost because we're dealing in a zero-sum game. And we ever even question, why are we on this ground in the first place? And that in order for us to lose ground, someone else took that ground. We didn't just fall away by happenstance. And so, of course, I'm going to take this back to our beginnings as amassed people in this country. They say that the day of emancipation was the greatest disaster of mental health that this nation has ever seen. How do you tell people who have been treated as chattel for the last 250 years to raise healthy families? Nobody said, here, African Americans, are some therapists for you. Now go ahead and act correctly. And so through the advent of the Jim Crow era, we saw that there actually was a reconstruction of the black family. And many of you in here actually remember that era where it took the village to raise a child, right? And that you couldn't do anything in that community without having your little tail tagged by every adult on that block before you got home and had to deal with your own parents. And it's also easy to point the finger at black males not being in the household. But how many of you have read the book, The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander? So many of you who read in that book saw that, in fact, how can a black male be in the home when, number one, the economy pancaked, those manufacturing jobs were purposefully outsourced to China and India to purposefully cripple the black community who was making so many gains at the beginning of the 1970s. There has always been an undercurrent of drug culture in the community ever since. Why? Because it's a survivalist behavior. And so when those jobs were taken, the underculture became the overculture. And the punitive measures given took those black men from being incarcerated from no more than 1 year for possession to 10 and 20 and 30 years. This is what took the black men out of the house. And if you don't acknowledge that, then you're going to constantly be looking at self and say, well, I'm not being good enough. I'm not standing up. I'm talking to my friends who are in the streets right now, brothers like Lumumba Sayers, who has recently become a good friend of mine, who has a constituency of brothers who don't feel like they're being represented up here because they are the streets. They are the brothers who have been left behind, and no matter what we try to say, the measures that we're trying to take to improve the circumstances are not including them. What do we do about that? And so when we address something as private as family, it's hard enough to take care of our own families. It's hard enough to implement something that will actually be long-term, systemic, and effective, taking care of the generations to come for our own households. And speaking of this burning house thing, it's time that we acknowledge some obvious truths. And I'm going to wrap it up with this, and I'm going to pass around this microphone. You'll never learn to fly by studying how things fall. When we're looking at losing ground, our focus is being drawn to the things that are not working. And so as we address these solutions that all of my panelists have been prompted to come up with, rather than looking at what is wrong, let's try to figure out what we used to do better than what we're doing now and build on the successes that we've had. Black Americans do not give ourselves the credit for even surviving this long. in the face of a European imperialism that vaporized other peoples of color, and we are still here. Let us give ourselves a credit for that. The language of criticism has been so pervasive because we have been criticized. We don't know how to stand up and give ourselves the love that we deserve. So let's start today by being the family that we know that we're supposed to be. And so these panelists can introduce themselves better than I can. They know themselves better than I know them. Let's start off to the side. Brother, go ahead now. I just want to hand this off to my elder right here. And let's make something happen, and let's make it beautiful. Let's go.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. I'm Dr. Anthony Young. I'm president of the Denver Rocky Mountain Association of Black Psychologists. And shall I pass the mic on? So that
Yeah, go ahead.
I am Reverend Dr. Marjorie Lewis, president, founder of the Center for Community Excellence and Social Justice.
Good afternoon. Robert White, Denver Police Chief.
Bob Woolfolk, pastor, Agape Christian Church.
Chanel Reed, collaborative member with Aurora Healthier Beginnings.
My name is Quincy Hines. I'm Western Regional Director of Barbershop Talk.
Good afternoon. My name is Maya Wheeler. I'm a community outreach liaison for 4th Street Compassionate Care Center and a candidate for Aurora City Council at large this November.
Good afternoon. I'm Christy Donner. I'm the Executive Director of the Colorado Criminal Justice Reform Coalition.
I'm Benny Milner. I'm the Executive Director of Denver's Road Home, which is the City of Denver's 10-year plan to end homelessness.
Thank you very much. No, please hold on to the microphone, Mr. Benny. We're going to start with you. Do I have my timekeeper over there? We're going to try to be as timely as we can simply because we lost time. Please introduce the solutions that you were prompted to give with the attitude of let's build on what has already worked for the black community. I want to have you start down there on the edge and we'll pass it down this way. Please keep time. Thank you. 2 minutes per person. Thank you.
2 minutes? Wow.
If we can, we understand we're flexible, but we actually have a schedule to keep.
All right. You know, one of the things that I've found, I was appointed to this position by the mayor. I've been in it now about 18 months. And dealing with the issues of homelessness and being asked to be a part of this panel, I saw how so many of them correlate to the losses that we've seen through the Losing Ground report. You know, and the correlation is strong because homelessness is a lagging indicator. When the recessions hit and we see all the economic decline, foreclosures come, and then homelessness comes after that because of a loss of employment, because of the high cost of housing and the like. And so with our community, this is what's impacting our families. And as I have sat through the DPS candidate reviews this morning and the first panel and even the beginning of this one, you know, it's 3 times we've talked about the family and some lapses and all of these types of things, but we really haven't put the label on it. And, you know, I think that in this whole conversation of losing ground, what we've really done is that we've ceded our moral authority, both in our community and also within our families. And so one of the most important things for us to do is, first of all, to reclaim that. Theo talked about a little about how we talk about loss and not gain. You know, asset-based community development highlights those positive assets in a community, and that's where we need to really draw our attention on those things that we've done well in our community that no one else can come in and do for us. A lot of our moral authority, you know, it's mostly spiritual. Some is practical, you know, family relationships, community activities, and those kind of issues. And secondly, a lot of emphasis has been put on college degrees. You know, I believe college is for everyone, but the timing of college may not be the same for everyone. We have a lack in this country. 65% of the skilled trades in this country, people are eligible to retire. And we are not training those folks. And we look at kids when they're in school, and for some reason we give them the attitude. I'll finish in just a second, but I have to finish this.
Thank you, sir.
We give them the attitude that trades and working with your hands is something lesser. When your heater goes out and that plumber comes or that HVAC guy comes and charges you that $80 an hour, you don't look at him as less than. And so I think it's important for us to get back to the idea that, yes, college is for everybody and learning is for everybody. But a lot of kids, and I look at my own son because I pushed him toward that, working with your hands is honorable. And we have to get back to allowing kids to do that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wanted to start just with some observations on the report. Because to be honest with you, I read it, the Losing Ground report, and one of the things that was stunningly missing to me was any real critique and connection around mass incarceration and the role that has played. And so I'll plant that seed for people because I thought that the threads are there, they're obvious, and I think we need to connect those dots in these kind of research reports. And I want you to know that part of what is fueling the fire is a choice. We made a choice to incarcerate more people than any other nation in the world. That isn't something that just happened. So what I would like to offer for us is a couple of things to think about, because the level of overuse of incarceration and the role of the criminal justice system is at epidemic levels. And so I want to use that language because I think it speaks to our dis-ease in our communities and the fact that we have not found the right solutions. So speaking to Dr. Bailey's first point as to the cultural quality of the conversation, I want a new definition of public safety, because public safety is not a system. It is a byproduct of healthy families, strong schools, economies of opportunity, community-based services that can help effectively intervene when people in our community are in crisis. I don't deny crime. I'm going to get done in a minute. I don't deny crime and the problems of it. We just need solutions that work better. And public safety isn't delivered by police, prosecutors, and correctional institutions. It is a responsibility for all of us in the community to play a role. So I'll speak to the institution. So those are the cultural pieces. I think we need to change our attitude and our definitions and our engagement in this, and we need to do it in slightly different ways. And I mean no disrespect to the law enforcement community, but they cannot deliver it. It is bigger than what they are able to do. So institutionally, I want to talk about every community developing a blueprint for public health, opportunity, and safety.
Thank you very much. Sorry.
No, one more, man.
Yeah, I got you. I just wanted to let you know.
All right. So the concept, the way we get there is a concept called justice reinvestment, where we intentionally take funding out of corrections at the state and local level and invest it in the community and the things that works.
In terms of talking about losing ground in healthcare, one of the things that Landry talked about was a call of action. I want to suggest a call of action in healthcare as well, that we refocus on the organizations who are already doing work in the community, like the Center for African American Health, the Colorado Black Health Collaboration, and Aurora Healthier Beginnings. These organizations are already doing good things, and we as a community need to step up and support them with dollars, people, and time. Once upon a time during the civil rights movement, we believed our voice mattered. We have to get back to that time when we believe community engagement matters and that we can make a difference in our communities. We need to step up and volunteer with these organizations to make a difference. These organizations are doing good things. They already have the infrastructures in place to make a difference. They have relationships with the community where we can move forward with them with working with universities. So that's my recommendation, is that we support our organizations that are already out here doing a good work.
You know, the program that we're doing is targeting men. So obviously we understand that black men have been the target for far too long. Although Barbershop Talk does not necessarily target the black men, we are trying to address all issues. You know, if we get white men, Hispanic men, Asian men, all types of men in one room to talk about some of the issues that they see, that they deal with, and solutions that they can see, you know, in terms of resolving some issues, then that's what we want to deal with. The reality is, like last night, the reality is that so many people are struggling. You understand what I'm saying? People are hungry. And then, of course, when they're hungry, what do you think they do? They resort to the primitive nature. I'm going to get mine, even if I got to take it from you. You understand what I'm saying? And so what affects one directly affects others indirectly. So if you're sitting in your, $200,000-$300,000 homes and you don't think that it's not affecting you, think again.
From the perspective of health disparities related to infant mortality rates in the African American community, Aurora Healthier Beginnings is a community collaborative that has been established to directly address those rates. And as I thought about one recommendation that I can give to the group today and sum up everything that Aurora Healthier Beginnings does in the community is preconception health care. We encourage women and men to participate in their health care. Preconception health care is that time period for a woman when she first starts her menstrual cycle till the end of menopause. You need to be going to see your physician. As we look at the numbers, it's the areas of preconception health where we see the most benefit to our unborn babies as well as our babies who are in the world today. And so part of our mission of Aurora Healthier Beginnings is to reduce risk behaviors such as obesity and focus in on preventive behaviors such as diet and nutrition and taking folic acid, multivitamins, and exercising. It's an empowering movement when you take control of your own health care. So that is my recommendation for infant mortality and taking care of ourselves.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
One of the things that was mentioned previously is the moral authority in the community seems to have drifted. One of the things that I've been involved with for the last 40 years of my life is in one community, the Five Points community, being a part of a local church that develops different kinds of things that the people need. For instance, we have identified that housing and education, health care are all primary things that we need to address. And we have worked forward, housing, working with Hope Communities, faith management, health care, helping to start the Inner City Health Center, working with the Center for African American Health, education, developing the Inner City Christian School, working with ILF and Denver Seminary, with Colorado Christian University, CU, Metro, CCD, to get the folks in the community into education at the levels where they can fit. And then even using the church as a place to have tutoring programs for the kids at the local school level, starting 3rd through 5th grade, middle school, and to be there positively working with the local school, with the college, community college, because unless the morals and the values of our society are put into the children at other areas other than at the educational area where it seems to be illegal to be moral and to be virtuous, the church can do it. And that's what we've been doing on an ongoing basis. Following through with brothers and sisters coming out of prison, we started Charities House Ministries, and we have, over the last 17 years, worked with those coming out. We've probably done 1,000 caseloads, and recidivism has slowed down as a result of that. So those are some of the holistic things that we've done through the Agape Christian Church to reach out and do development.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. I first want to thank the Colorado Black Roundtable for this summit, and certainly give special thanks to John, Sharon, Regis, and Gloria for your leadership as it relates to this. And secondly, since I'm the only person up here with a taser, my 2 minutes can become 3 minutes.
Please continue on, sir. Please continue on. You still on the clock. Let's go.
All right. I would tell you that I've actually been blessed to work in 5 police departments over the course of the last 40 years. And every agency I've worked in the black community, I've heard 2 themes that are reactive versus proactive. And I understand the importance of them, but we really need to change the tone of them. I can't tell you the number of conversations I've been involved in when they talked about alternatives to incarceration, meaning you've been locked up, but what can we do to keep you from getting into the jail and give you other alternatives? I can't tell you the number of conversations I've had, particularly in the black community, about cocaine versus crack. Cocaine is commonly a drug that's used by whites. Crack is commonly a drug that's used by blacks, and the sentencing disparity is much higher for those that use crack versus cocaine. Well, yeah, there's some importance to having those conversations, but how about having the conversations of alternatives to getting into the criminal justice system? Those are the conversations that we need to spend much of our time doing. Now, I, like many of you and many in this community, was raised by a single mother in the heart of the ghetto in Washington, D.C. And her task was to keep me from getting into the system. And she did that by finding positive role models, finding healthy alternatives, because as the brother stated earlier, everybody wants to be valued. And if you're not valued by somebody that is looking after your best interests, guess what? You're gonna go where someone who's not looking after your best interests, but want you to be part of their gang. So, solution is we need to spin the conversation to alternatives to people getting into the system, and we need to really respect and understand that part of that needs to happen by having alternatives to the system and having our young people have healthy alternatives, and we all play a critical role in making that occur.
Thank you so much, sir.
I have a center, but I also hang around a lot of organizations in the public sector. I serve on the Human Services Board, the Welfare Reform Board, the African American Advisory Committee. I was on the G2 Committee for the Public Safety. Remember that, Chief? So I have been around a bit, and I've looked. And, you know, I think when we were in one of our African American Commission meetings, I said, you know, it seems like this whole thing is being staged. Because when you look at human services, and you look at criminal justice, and you look at education, it just seems like this whole thing has been staged. It really does. It's just amazing. It's amazing. I've been on the Human Services Board for the City and County of Denver for over 15 years. I'm probably the oldest member on 2 counts, length and age. It doesn't matter. I've been around long enough to see everybody from Chris Veazey all the way up to the current head of Human Services. And I must say this, they do seem to get better and better as time goes on, so there is some progress. However, when I look at the attitudes of too many of the people working in human services, I'm astounded at how we manage to work through any part of human services, and I'm saying it as a board member, vice chair of the board. We have a way of prejudging people that goes way beyond the 50s. We still have this attitude where certain tones of skin and the way that people speak, we just have this attitude of, I think Oprah had a special on called The Dark Girls. You see that? It still it prevails. And I know the City and County of Denver is not the only place where it prevails. When I look at criminal justice, I train people to become counselors. And one of the things we have to study are the classification of drugs. And I'm trying to tell them about the 5 classifications of drugs and how certain drugs are class 1 drugs, and I can't even explain it because it doesn't make any sense. And I keep trying to make it make sense, but it doesn't make sense. But one thing I do agree, if you didn't bother with the drugs in the first place, we wouldn't have to even get into a discussion about the classifications.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
there is that whole moral component there. I saw 4 boys one day. They were driving down the street, and everybody else would get stopped and get a ticket. But these 4, they took them out the car, sat them on the curb, Kept calling the headquarters, I guess, to see if there was a report. And when they looked like they ran out of things to do, I told my assistant, put your camcorder on. I'm going on down there. Put your camcorder on. And I went on down there, and then my better judgment, I just leaned up against the wall and looked at them. But one of them turned around. I said, yeah, baby, I'm right here. Then 4 of them, I said, we're right here. And then a policeman turned around. I said, yeah, we're right here. After it was all over, we went up. They didn't even get a ticket. And they were about to complain about inequity. And I said, no, you had no business making that left turn where you shouldn't have made it.
All right, sister.
That's an issue. Got one more piece.
We have to stay sharp on it. I don't want
Okay.
to step on nobody's toes. I'm sorry if I stepped on anybody's toes. I don't mean no disrespect. I'm just trying to keep some order. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Trying to respect my elders out here, but I just want to keep it pushing.
Okay.
That's all.
There's
right.
one more, the post-traumatic slavery disorder. We as black people know how to sing songs in a strange land, and we need to remember that as we move on.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll be very quick. I have 12 recommendations based upon behavioral health, physical health, and incarceration rates. So I'll be very quick. First of all, let me say that as a people, we have a history of beating the odds against the odds, given the will. We don't supposed to be here today having this conversation because some people had this plan in their mind years ago that we were just going to simply stay enslaved. We don't supposed to be having this conversation, but we are, because we have the will to not just regain ground, but to actually reach higher ground and create new ground. So my first recommendation, basically what I have is gleaned from about 36 years of experience working in prisons, working in mental health centers, at the State Hospital, and in the communities of Denver and Colorado Springs. So I'll be very quick. First of all, let me say that we have 2 institutions that we have always had control of. And I'm talking about solutions, not problems necessarily. That's the black family and the black church. Those 2 institutions we have total control over. And unfortunately, many faith-based organizations have empty buildings 4 or 5 days a week. We could use those same institutions to create after-school programs, life skill programs, and guess what? It does not cost any money. You know, it's one thing to deal with our policy issues at the state and federal level. What I'm talking about does not cost 1 penny. We have enough skill among the fraternities, sororities, and many other civic organizations to use those skills in after-school programs, in churches, in schools, which are also closed during the evening. So when we talk about how to create better mental health for our kids, it's about life skills, teaching them some healthy alternatives, not necessarily being always reactive, but actually being proactive. We have to take the lead in teaching our kids how to survive and how to cope with institutional racism, how to deal with having better employment skills, et cetera. We have to do this. We cannot wait for the government to come across to do these things for us that we must do for ourselves. Second, we need to destigmatize mental health and mental illness, okay? Mental wellness exists on a continuum. There's just simply points. You have someone who's not very well, mentally healthy, to someone who is very healthy. When I was growing up in Chicago, there was no one in my neighborhood that was ever psychotic. Aunt Susie had a nervous breakdown. You know, she was not psychotic, okay? We need to totally destigmatize mental illness because all of us are at various degrees of mental wellness. Okay, we all suffer from depression and various other types of issues, okay? So, very quickly, we need to avoid toxins. We need to avoid toxic people. We need to avoid drugs, alcohol abuse, et cetera. And last but not least, we need to make sure that we re-embrace those returning citizens who are coming back to our communities from the Gator communities, okay? These are our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our neighbors. These people need to be given the opportunity to have better opportunities for reintegration, for housing, employment, behavioral health, so that we can effectively bring them back into our communities, because only 3% of all people incarcerated in Colorado are going to stay in prison. The other 97% are coming back to our communities, and we need to be ready to re-embrace them because these people are us.
Thank you so much. I'm going to slack up on the time, keeping very, very, very greatly, because I think now we have interjected what we needed to say, the things that have been prepared. And so I was tasked with coming up with conversation topics that actually would kind of strike at the heart of the matter. And I'm probably going to say some things that ain't quite so popular right now. So I'll start off with a story. A week before the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, the actor Harry Belafonte was at Dr. King's house, and he saw that Dr. King was very distressed. And this came out in an interview that he had with Louis Farrakhan not too long ago. And he said, "Dr. King, why are you so upset?" And Dr. King, a week before he was killed, told Harry Belafonte, "I can't escape the feeling that I am integrating my people into a burning house." A week later, Dr. King was killed. I cannot help but notice the trend that in my lifetime, I'm an 80s baby, I was born in the 80s. I cannot help the trend but noticing that the things that we're talking about losing ground happen within the era of integration, not segregation. I also noticed a trend that when I looked at the struggles of our ancestors, the talk was not about integration, but desegregation. And that distinction has never been drawn, because segregation is simply using your resources to deprive other people of their resources. We simply wanted that to be removed. However, those who had actually been raised in segregation, like the grandmother of my brother Quincy Shannon right here, who's an acclaimed author, said that the best schools that she ever attended to was when the only teachers that she was around were the ones who looked like her. And isn't that interesting that that's what we're arguing for right now? When I'm going to extend the microphone after this. I want to ask you guys, have you also noticed that in your field of endeavor, whatever it is, you have been, let's say, noticing a trend? That when you try to get with those who are not like you, they tend to look out for their own self-interest before yours. I want to open this up, because this to me is the 800-pound gorilla in the room that nobody's talking about. And I'm going to leave it like that. I know it's about to get thick in here, so we're going to pass this around. Who wants to send first? I'm going to open it up to 3 minutes. You have your hand up. Let's go.
I was born across the track way back in '45. And at the time that I was born, there was no such thing in Southern Illinois as integrated schools for us. We had to go 3 miles from where we lived to a segregated school. And the teacher that was there was trained at Lane College in Tennessee. And she came with her own package, and she would go every summer to renew working on her master's degree. But she brought with her the fundamentals for us in our community to learn how to navigate where we were and how we were, and to, I guess you would say, associate with the ones that were in power. Every year it was customary for us to get the books from across the track to go in our library and to go on our desks. We didn't get the new books that the folks across the track got, but we got a better education because the one that was teaching us cared about us, not just about our education, but about our socialization, about our family, about our health care, and the ones that came even to make sure that we got our immunizations was an African-American doctor that had been trained at Meharry. This was in Southern Illinois. But what you're saying about segregation and the best teachers, I have to agree with that. And we've tried to do that now, even in Denver, sharing with the children that we have the privilege of working with and telling them about their history. We're not just entertainers and athletes. We are scientists and we are thinkers of magnitude. And we really don't share that. And if you get a Black history class, it's not shared in that kind of depth, but at the church, we can teach in other ways than what happens in the schools, in the universities. And so over the last 40 years, we've attempted to do that. And we owned more land. We raised more livestock. We were producers of more products during the time of segregation than we tend to do now, even though we have more education and more degrees and more positions.
That's a very interesting trend. I would like to give him a round of applause, I think, because I wasn't there, he was. So I have to trust my elder's perspective. Quincy, I saw your hand up directly afterwards, and then we're going to open it up actually to some community questions. Unfortunately, we're short on time, so thank you so much, Mr. Hines.
You know what, I actually have seen a trend, and I want to focus on this for a second, because the problem is that we don't understand what black beauty is. You understand what I'm saying? I know Madam C.J. Walker was a wonderful woman, right, in terms of the perm and weave and all that kind of stuff. But we've got to start teaching our black kids that black is beautiful. Wearing your natural is beautiful. Being who you are is beautiful. I hate the fact that a school is telling a child because she's got locks in her hair that she needs to cut her hair. I am sick and tired of each and every time we walk into a place, we cannot be ourselves. We can't walk with a beard, but everybody else can. We can't be who we need to be, but we need to look like everybody else. You understand what I'm saying? Black is beautiful. Black is the most beautiful thing I have ever known. One of the first women to walk this planet was a black woman. You understand what I'm saying? Was a black man. So as we look at ourselves and look at our mirror, stop straightening your baby's hair. Let your baby rock natural. You know what I'm saying? Stop trying to change black and just be black. Black is beautiful, and let's make it happen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hines. I believe that I've been instructed, and this is why I was so adamant on time. I have been instructed that it is time to open this up to some community talkback. I believe I saw Brother Lumumba Sayer step up. And do we have a microphone for that gentleman? Do we have a microphone for him?
Yeah, we got a microphone.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you so much, sir.
How everybody doing today? I got Phil Douglas up here. Haroon, you in the building?
Mr. Cowens.
We got my boy Ghost, he up here, you know what I mean? We got all these programs intact for these kids, so they say, but none of these programs is really reaching out to these OGs in these communities, these people that these kids look up to. You know what I mean? We got all these programs ran by these people who ain't never been in the jungle, ain't never been in the struggle. You know what I'm saying? All I'm asking is for help. I don't have a nonprofit organization, but I got about 40 success stories. Phil Douglas here, he works here at Manual High School. He got a chess club that he does, a class that he teaches for these kids. You know what I mean? I volunteer my time. I come into his classroom, not only his classroom, but around the other different schools. I don't have the funds that it takes to help these people, but I feel like my number's written on the prison door because everybody that's called me has gotten a job. And I'm doing this just by the grace of God, you know what I mean? God is the leader in my life, you know what I mean? But we can have all the programs and we can do everything. We can have all these programs set. I heard a lot of money yelled out up there, $23 billion on a highway. Psh, man, give us some of that money. Watch, I hire so many people and have them just going through the neighborhood, cleaning up the neighborhood, paying them $9, $10 an hour just to have something to do.
Yeah, Mr.
You know what I mean?
Thank you very much.
My boy Ghost, he got something. He got some advice too.
You getting feedback, and after Ghost, we got one more person. Please speak up, sir. I'd like to hear what you got to say.
Before I get started real quick, I just want to make sure that I can keep it real with y'all, because I feel like that's the only way that we're going to make some change. First of all, I represent the streets, the voice that has not been heard here. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't get the memo. I didn't know we had any ground to lose. You know what I'm saying? We didn't get the memo. And I say that with every intention of giving these people respect for being proactive and coming out here and putting this together. But we did not get the memo. We do not know what's going on. We are disillusioned out here. You know what I'm saying? We come home and you have thrown us away. if you follow what I'm saying. These babies are not gonna listen to these people, man, and that's no disrespect to you guys. You know what I mean? It's no disrespect to you guys, but we've been in the trenches.
Go ahead.
I've spent over 10 years of my life in prison. You understand what I'm saying? These kids, unfortunately, what I say to them is gospel, and it's crazy, but it is what it is. And we can make it, we're here to help, but we need your help to help us. Like I said, we come home. I had every intention. I started speaking with the Prisoners Against Crime program at Camp George West, and I had every intention. I started working on a strategic plan for a nonprofit. When I came home, I had to feed my kids. I had to feed my kids first and foremost, so it gets lost in the shuffle, man. But we're out here, you know what I mean? And as leaders of the community, man, real leaders, I've led men and women, you know what I mean? Real leaders respect and they see what people are capable of, and you use them for what they're good for. You want to affect the change? Employ my OG that's been out here in these streets for over 30 years, that doesn't have a leg, that's tatted all over his face. Employ him, because these babies are going to listen to him. That's what we need. We need your guys' help to help these kids, man. We can't do it. We're out here, man. We are out here, man, and some of us want to help. But we need your guys' help, man.
Thank you so much, Ghost. Thank you so much. And this is the voice of hunger we were talking about. This is what's actually going on. Now, what I'd like to do is open up the forum for community recommendations. Do we have any community recommendations that actually were ground level? This is only the beginning, by the way. Let's go. We only have actually 5 minutes tops. This is it. This is it.
All right, I'm gonna keep this real short. My name is Chairman Sekou. I'm with the Black Star Action Movement for Self-Defense. And you will see me Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at City Council. On Channel 8, we've made over 100 presentations for the last 3 years. We're just the people who showed up to find out what's up. So let's talk about what's for real. We need a plan. And what has happened is that our organization represents poor, working poor, and homeless people. And poor and working people and homeless people have come up with a plan called the 5 Points Metropolitan Plan. And what it involves is that we set up a city inside of the city and county of Denver, talking about District 8, and turn that into a city within a city with its own governing board that has the power to tax and create bonds, and it's a $65 million project that addresses 7 things. One, a 1/3 rent cap on the residents of our neighborhood, and that includes all of District 8, which is the original district of the 5 Points when Hiawatha Davis and Caldwell was here. It goes all the way from downtown Auraria, I-25 to Colorado Boulevard. You want to come and take my neighborhood, we'll take the whole district back, for real.
That's what's up.
Now, the second thing is that there's a job training program that we're going to pay for out that $65 million. Another thing is that there's going to be universal broadband for the entire district, so you can open up your Y2K and all that on any street corner. So what we're doing is asking the Colorado Roundtable to take this proposal, create an all-African united front for the total unification and liberation of our neighborhood under one organization, period.
Thank you so much. Listen up, ladies and gentlemen. We have actually, unfortunately, reached our time limit for this discussion. However, this is what I heard. Number one, we involve the streets. And I told some gentlemen yesterday at Holly, we ain't going nowhere without the streets, because no matter what happens to them, their statistics count for the rest of our statistics. We are inextricably linked to what happens in the hood. Secondly, we actually have to start talking about what he was saying, a city within a city, just like Glendale. That's what he's saying. A city within a city is you control the municipalities and the things that are going on within that small area. And so getting behind that actually gives you power and a constituency automatically to argue for the things that you want for. And I don't care what you think about the messenger, that message may actually be something viable that we need to look into. And that's all I have to say for right now. Thank you very much.